Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy. You have probably picked this up. If you haven't, you should. It's really, really awesome. So altogether, I counted there are 22 in this book alone. But did you know there are secret classes hidden throughout the internet? Hello everybody, Jordan here, the PH is silent, and this is a video discussing I say secret classes. Hey, do you want some classes? Do you want some secret jobs for your Old School Essentials? These are street legal, but they're not well known. This is a bunch of zines and other articles and stuff where people made custom classes for Old School Essentials. They're really fun, and I don't hear people talk about them a lot, so I wanted to bring them up, that you can go out and buy a lot of these PDFs and go play really unique, weird, fun classes for Old School Essentials. So we're going to dive into a lot of the PDFs. Even though I have a lot of these in physical, I think I have all of them except Planar Compass, but we'll check it out. It's awesome. All right, here we are, Old School Essentials, Advanced Fantasy Player Tome. I just wanted to point out, if you don't know about Old School Essentials, a cleanup version of original D&D. It's probably my favorite, like, retro clone that's not, I love DCC and stuff, but this just feels, I don't know, old school and fun, and it's in the title, Old School Essentials. I have a couple games that I've played with it. I really like I like the layout. I like the art in this. That's my dog. And I wanted to go over here to the table of contents. If you look, we have character classes: acrobat, assassin, barbarian, bard, dwarf. And this is also classes where races could be a class. So you could just be a dwarf and take levels in dwarf. But because this is the advanced fantasy, you can mix and match races and classes. So I could be a drow and just take levels in drow, or I could be a drow thief or a drow ranger. I could be a gnome paladin. You can mix and match that way, but I can't necessarily be a half-elf snurfeblin. It doesn't work like that. So the race class is not something that another race can take specs into, but I mean, you can hack the system. It's really, really cool. And then there are these Carcass crawler zines that came out. And this zine, this is the issue 0 because for the Kickstarter backers. And they come with, it says right there on the title, 8 new fantasy classes and 3 new races. So it's kind of fun because there are these extra little things that are kind of stuck into this with the Carcass crawler zine. And then also Knock. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Knock. This is made by the Merry Mushman. And it's, what do they call it? An old school gaming bric-a-brac. And it's just a collection of articles, but the layout is so interesting and cool. And we're going to take a look at these. I took screenshots of all of them so that we can go through and kind of look at the different classes and stuff that you could add. Going over here for Carcass Crawler, this is adding the Arcane Bard, the Beastmaster, Changeling, Chaos Knight, let me zoom in, Mage, Mutoid, Mycelian, Warden, and then Changeling, Mutoid, and Mycelian could be races that you could add, but they're also set as classes. Okay, I have a thing here, hang on. So the original has 22 different Old School Essentials character classes, and then this just kind of expands out. So we have the Arcane Bard, the Beastmaster, the Changeling, and then in Carcass Crawler issue 1, we get the Acolyte, the Goblin, the Kineticist. There's an adjustment to the D6, or adjustment to the Thief to utilize a D6 rather than percentile for people who want to play that way. So I went through and I like cataloged all of them because I am a nerd and I thought that would be a lot of fun. And we're going to look at just a few of them here. But if you want these extra classes, like go get the PDFs, and you might look at, as a player, I guess, you might look at Old School Essentials and be like, well, I'm not super interested in any of this, but this expands the game and it's a lot of fun. Not to even mention the Necromancer, which is in playtest. It might be out now, but you can get the playtest version of it on DriveThruRPG, and I made a video on that, and I'll link it down below. The Beastmaster I really like. I've always been looking for a good kind of Beastmaster class to play. So as a Beastmaster, you have an animal companion. You establish a connection with it, and then you get to to basically tell it what to do, kind of. Companion's behavior. Once a connection is successfully established, the animal companion will follow the Beastmaster everywhere. It obeys basic commands and will fight to defend the Beastmaster, never really checking for morale. And where this game has rules for retainers and stuff, and then there's a morale thing with that, this is kind of like having a retainer, but it's an animal-based one, and it doesn't have morale checks. It will listen to you. We have the Changeling, which is very much a doppelganger kind of creature. Not inspired by the Feywild, but like Eberron-esque, which is really cool. And so you can shape change. And this is also a race, so you could have some of these if you want to use it as a race, or if you want to level in the class itself, which is really cool. And these classes all level up in different times, different ways. And you have THAC0 rules, but it also has rollover rules right next to it in brackets. That's the cool thing about Old School Essentials. So now the sad thing about the Carcass Crawler zine is the 00 zine, the introduction one that was part of the Kickstarter. You can't get it. It was a special thing for the Kickstarter. So luckily, they have reprinted a couple of these. The Beastmaster is in issue 3. The Mutoid and the Mycelium are also in issue 3. And I would be unsurprised if the rest of these do not show up at some point. Yeah, so this is like a Dark Knight, basically. Arcane Knight, maybe, kind of a thing. Chaos Knight. You can invoke the power of your patron to command undead. You can get Life Drain, Unholy Resistance. At 4th level, you get an Infernal Steed that you can run around on. And after, so just like simple, fun, but like really cool. And the Mycelium, I love playing a fungus, so I thought that was really cool. On 6 levels, it can be 6 levels of a Mycelium, but you're jumping back over. We can go to CCO1, Carcass Crawler All-1, and we have some of the best ones, which I think the Acolyte and the Goblin, the Kineticist, which is like mental powers, and then the Thief adjustments. If I was going to get one that you could buy, I think CCO1 is the best for your bank, or best bang for your buck. So we have the Acolyte here. This is Acolytes are adventurers who have sworn to serve a deity. They are trained for battle and can channel the power of a deity. So more of a melee acquired kind of cleric in a way. And there's fun things for followers. You can do strongholds and get followers. The Gargantua is half giant kind of creatures. So rock throwing, lots of fun things there if you want to play a monster. The Goblin is cool. I like it. You have infravision, stealth, just wolf affinity, very thematic. The Hephaestian, thin demi-humans with angular features and pointed ears. Some sages claim they are relatives of elves. They have mental powers, yeah. Mind control, ESP, things like that, if you want to include some of these things into your game. Which brings us to the Kineticist by Gavin Norman, who is the lead designer gentleman of Old School Essentials, and publishes this zine and what have you. So this one comes, you get the mental powers with this, and here are the mental powers. So crush life and control destiny and kinetic fist
of devastation.
Lots of fun stuff. Leap. So if you want to be a Jedi, you probably want to be a Kineticist. Carcass Crawler issue number 2 has 2 subclasses, which is the Phase Elf and Wood Elf, which you can play by itself or as a race, including in your thing. And they're just kind of like fancy elves. So the Phase Elf is, they're slender elves. Their hair is violet or silver. They originate from an alternate dimension, which is inaccessible to other races. And so they don't talk about it. It's just a secret place. Each morning upon awaking, the character may choose to switch to their other phase, this is called phasing. And so you can be in a fighter phase or a magic user phase for the day. So if you have that player that can't really pick and wants to be the Gish or something, you could do that. And then the second one is the Wood Elf, which is if the Phase Elf is a arcane version of elves, this is more of a divine version of elves. And here we are with issue 3, and this brought in tieflings, which is really fun. So with this, we have the Beastmaster, again, the Dragonborn, the Mutoid, which are just like mutated, weird mismatch. I guess you could play like a Frankenstein creature with a mutoid if you wanted to. Mycelium, which was there, and then Tiefling, which is just like a half devil demon kind of thing like that. Dragonborn here, you get a breath weapon, and you have a draconic bloodline that shapes your breath weapon. And then you have resistance and scales and, things like that. Dragon affecting magic. You are affected by magic that specifically target dragons, i.e. a +1 sword versus dragons. So you are considered a dragon for some magical things. Yeah, mutoids, they have mismatched body parts of many different creatures, like crustacean, birds, reptiles. Each individual has a unique appearance, and they're shunned by other species, and they live in hidden, spooky areas. And so you get backstab. And then you have some mutations table that you can roll on. So the mutoid skills here, hide in shadows, mimicry, pickpocket kind of things. And then here are our mutations, a D8 list. If you have beast ears, you have a 3 in 6 chance to hear noises. If you have eyes, you have infravision. Clawed hands, you can do 1d6 damage. Gills, you can breathe underwater. Pincer, you can lock people, which is really cool. Scales gives you extra armor. And then spring legs, sticky tongue, you can grab objects with your tongue, or you can jump very far. It's pretty fun. And the mycelium, again, mushroom person, really like this one. Only 6 levels of it. And Tiefling is fiendish ancestry. So because of this, your fiendish gifts, you're going to come equipped with a spell. Well, I should say a gift. So it's like, I can cast Mirror Image once per day. Or I have fire resistance, or I have a +2 save to something. And I like this. Because of your heritage, you're vulnerable and you take damage from holy water. So now we get into knock. And knock 1, knock 2, knock 3. There are 3 of these so far. I think they're making a 4th. And especially knock 2 has a lot of fun classes. But we're going to look at these. I've actually taken screenshots of all of these. So this is the Living Harness. So this is kind of your Warforged, like animated armor creature that you want to play. 14 levels of this. You can upgrade yourself with money to get like +1 AC or +1 charisma. Deluxe hinges, +1 dexterity. I think that's kind of fun. You're not affected by oxygen. You can detach parts of your body when you want to. Electricity, damage from electricity is doubled. You conduct electricity. You cannot receive mundane or magical healing. The hardiness must repair itself. For each full day of work using an appropriate tools, you recover 1d6 hit points. So you can't be healed by normal means, and you need to. So one of the reasons, like, you have probably a very high AC, but you have to repair yourself. All right, the ne'er-do-well. Ne'er-do-wells are lazy vagabonds, outcast. They learn to survive in the worst of situations, developing many talents. So ne'er-do-wells firmly believe in freedom of movement, flexibility. Leather is the heaviest armor they can tolerate, and they can use any weapon. You have a defensive bonus. You're an opportunist. You get a +2 bonus to hit if the opponent is unaware. You have mastered a thief skill of your choice, so you get to look at the thief table and take a skill. Sense of danger. You're a wizard wannabe. This feels like Kugel from Dying Earth, like 100%. You starting at 3rd level, you can memorize and cast arcane spells, but there's a 10% chance per spell level that the spell does not function as expected. And then I thought this one was really funny too. This is the Naked Wanderer. So you're just barely clothed people delving into unholy crypts. Some say they are cursed by the gods of wealth. When you use an item for another purpose than the one it was intended for. So the referee will decide how this applies. If the game doesn't use roll understats, make it a +1 to d6 rolls with an additional +1 at levels 5, 9, and 13. And in combat, your Wanderer's die, you add it to the damage of any improvised weapon. So I like that a lot. Or the AC to makeshift armor. Bare necessities. At the start of each session, you roll your Wanderer's die. That's the number of items you own, and you remove the rest from your equipment list. It is lost forever, stolen, broken, quantum disintegrated. It's up to you. During play, you can borrow a number of items equal to your level every session. Whenever you use a permanent item above this limit, it is lost as above. If you fail, a saving throw versus spells. This includes stuff carried by followers or held for you by fellow adventurers. Going back over here, we have a lot of fun ones with knock number 2. The platy person I thought was rather interesting if you want to play a platypus person. The gray is a alien. You're a limp gray-skinned creature from outer space. The errant friar is a healer, but more of a, well, let's look. You're a scholar. They're young monks or nuns who leave the monastery to experience the world and its hardship. But you are very devoted to your god and deity. They have mixed feelings about arcane magic, and they refuse to use or come under the influence of spells or magical items. However, they accept holy relics. The Prophet of Ruin, the followers of the Path of Dust, believe most religions have a grain of truth in them. Even more so, those religions teach of some form of end times. These apocalyptic warrior cultists travel the lands in search of slivers of forgotten lore and religious dogma regarding the final end. Each day, a prophet may speak a number of apocalyptic truths. The level progression table shows the number of prophecies the prophet can proclaim each day. The prophet must choose a creature that can hear them to direct the prophecy at. While the prophet speaks these truths, they become a vessel for the primal powers of entropy. Roll on the prophecy table to determine the effect the words would have on the listener. When a prophet reaches 5th level, they can meditate at dawn to choose one prophecy to speak during the day. This increases to 2 prophecies at 9th level. So I can yell a prophecy out as an action, and all light will fade. The listener becomes blinded for 1d4 levels. The tool of men will not save them. All non-magical metal items and gear worn or held by the listener crumble to dust. So very fun. Like your time is up with the Prophet of Ruin. The Plague Doctor was interesting just because of the layout. If you haven't, these Knock, and I'll have links to everything down below, but Knock has some really interesting layouts here. So this is just a really cool kind of, maybe not as functional as you want it to be, but I like this a lot. So this is the Plague Doctor. Again, if you want to do more sci-fi stuff with your chocolate and your peanut butter, the Lost Droid is really cool, and you get some cool things like laser gun, force fields, echo, radar, anti-grav. One of my favorites is the Laser Mage. The Laser Mage, you know how some people call illusionists wizards but more useless? Well, it turns out illusions are just light, which has been bent and sculpted by a magic user's will. And guess what else you can create by concentrating light? That's right. Now hand over your spellbook, or I cut off the other hand. It's the Laser Mage. Laser Mages can only use illusionist spells. Instead of casting a spell, a Laser Mage may attempt to convert one or more spell slots into the following effects: Explosive Beam, Hologram, Laser Sword. If we want to have a kineticist race, the Elf, Phase Elf, Laser Mage, boom, I like that. And the last one I want to look at today is the Space Vampire, because I just freaking love Spelljammer and Space Vampires. This is a class in the vein of the Vampirella comics, a traveler from the vampire planet in a faraway solar system. So not necessarily associated with Spelljammer, but in Spelljammer there's space vampires and it's fun. You can't wear armor or use shields. You're immortal. You have a vampire bite that you can do. And when you bite someone, you gain 1d4 blood points, and you can use those for special abilities. So blood abilities, Beguile, Bloodlust Regeneration, Eyes of Night, Mystic Shadow. The space vampire activates a mystical force field of shadows around herself, and this ability functions as the shield spell. Super fun. And finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about Planar Compass. This is something I want to do a larger video on at some point, because it is Spelljammer, but with the serial numbers filed off. And they do a really good job. So if you want to run kind of a space treasure planet game, this is a really fun and a great supplement for that. And so there are new classes here, like the Astral Sailor, the Aldhelsi. The Aldhelsi are short, pale, slender fey creatures. The Astral Sailor, the Onoke. Yeah, 6 to 7 feet tall with purple or blue skin, horns, enlarged canines. So they're kind of like demon-y tieflings, I guess. And then there's a Scion class where you can have some psionic powers and lots of like using psionics and things like that. So if you're interested in this, again, I'll put links down below to everything. And they are affiliate links. They help out the channel a little bit here and there. Again, these Nock magazines are super great. They are published by the Merry Mushman, and you should go check out their website below. They have lots of them. I'm not sure if you can still get them in print, but I bet if they do another Kickstarter for Nock number 4, that you will be able to order previous ones. And the PDFs are always available. I highly recommend them. If you're playing Old School Essentials, I think these are invaluable to not only your players to having new options for things, but also the Nock articles are just great for creating worlds and lots of fun random tables and things like that. So what was your favorite in one of these? Are there any you want me to do a little more deep dive on? And we can talk about it in another video. So thank you for watching. I have some links on screen. You can check it out. I would love to have you subscribe. And if you really want to support me, there is a Patreon, and you can hang out and chat with me. I will see you all in the next video.